Alrighty, so again, good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Donahue. I work for the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. And assuming you're all in the right place, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship and tell you a little bit about the program, answer any questions you might have, and just basically share some information and hopefully get you guys any information you need about the program. So I'm going to share, assuming my technology works. Everybody cross your fingers. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to share a little bit about the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship, which is a program of my organization, the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. Before we get started, obviously I've seen everybody's name. It would be absolutely wonderful if we could do a quick round of introductions. What's your name? What do you do? And most importantly for today's session, what are you hoping to learn about the fellowship, or maybe why you're interested in the fellowship? Basically, why are you here this morning? Because I'm sure we all have other things going on. Why have you decided to invest some time into learning about the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship? So I've obviously introduced myself. Again, my name is Stephen Donahue. I work here at the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. Let's go ahead and start with Jessica, if that's possible.
Sure. I'm Jessica Forrest. By day, I'm a consultant and I work on various things such as strategic planning, but also environmental consulting and technical writing. I'm on 2 boards and a municipal committee, and one board I'm on is the Concord Community Music School. I'm also the board president for Capoco, which is a 501c7 pool and tennis co-op, and I just want to learn more about being a board member. So
great.
How to run things right.
So you got all sorts of different boards. You got 501c7. It sounds like 501c3, and then a municipality. That's interesting. Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dabbling and everything.
Nice. How about let's go next to Karen.
My name is Karen Barnard. I work for a CPA firm in Woburn, Massachusetts. We have locations in Salem and Chestnut Hill as well. I'm a manager in the outsourced accounting group. I have experience with not-for-profits from the outside looking in, doing their books, working on their audits, that type of thing.
Thank you for that work. We appreciate it in the nonprofit sector.
As well as I've been following my kids around with PTA boards and booster clubs and that type of thing. So my kids are graduating from school, and I'm going to be an empty nester, and I'm thinking maybe it's time to step up to some bigger board service. I'm here to learn about those roles and if I would be a good fit.
Nice. Thank you, Karen. I'm going to call on somebody next. Let's do. How about Beth?
Good morning. I'm Beth Sheehan. I'm recently retired, and I'm on 3 boards. I'm president of one board and vice president of another board. And I have some pretty significant board experience. So what I'm hoping to learn is whether there's more learning, which I assume there is, as part of this fellowship, or is this something I would encourage some of my more junior board members to participate in for their own growth and development?
Got it. Great. Thank you, Beth. How about Martha?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Martha Dickey. I'm the Director of Donor Relations at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. So I have and have worked at many nonprofits in Merrimack County over the last 20 years. I'm currently a board member at Girls at Work down in Manchester, and on my alumni board for my college. But what I'm hoping to learn is just I want to become a better leader on the boards, and I feel like some of them have already gelled, and there's like a select couple of people who do most of the work, and I just want to try to find a way to have a more meaningful impact so that I can broaden what I know about board service.
Great, got it. And we love the loan fund, and we love Girls at Work here at the center. So that's great. Thank you.
Excellent.
And just out of curiosity, have you served on the Girls at Work board for a while? Is that your first board?
No, I was on the board at Dismas Home in Manchester as well for a while.
Gotcha.
And then the alumni board for Franklin Pierce.
Great.
MBTA. That's
Okay,
about
the
right.
truth comes out. All of a sudden, you've been on quite a few boards. Interesting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
just feel, yeah, I'd like to just, I think probably just personally develop more as a board member,
Yeah.
so that I can, you know, offer more.
Okay, great. Thank you, Martha. And how about Sue, if you would mind unmuting?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Haskell. I'm currently the fiscal officer for New Hampshire Sea Grant, which is part of a national organization funded by NOAA, and we're based at the University of New Hampshire. For the past over 20 years, I've also been a fundraising consultant specializing in grant writing, mostly for outward bound schools, and prospect research, and also a little bit of like event, what do you call it, where you do like an appeal, a holiday appeal. So I write
Gotcha.
the holiday appeal letter for a nonprofit or something like that.
Nice.
And so like Karen, my kids they've actually, the last one actually is a freshman in college now. So I'm an empty nester, and I've always said that once my kids are off and, you know, kind of a little bit more independent, then I would have time to serve on a board. And I've worked with a lot of boards of nonprofits just as a consultant. And so I see a lot of things that I know, like some of them are just really healthy and they work great, and others are not. And so I really want to learn a lot more about it. It also kind of makes me nervous, to be honest, to be a board member, because I think there's a lot of responsibility that sometimes board members don't even realize that they're taking on. And so I want to make sure that if I'm going to join a board, that I will be responsible. Thanks.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, that's I do like the fact that you said that they're a little bit more independent once they're out of the house. Not completely, that's for sure, but just a little bit more independent. So that's great. And absolutely, there are definitely a lot of responsibilities for nonprofit board members. But hopefully through programs like this, like the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship, we can sort of explain those, and yeah, it's definitely great to hear that you're sort of thinking about that and take that seriously. So that's wonderful. And then we do also have one person who, Robert Dudley, is joining us from, they're an associate at Nathan Wexler in Concord. Robert is toughing it out and won't be able to introduce himself. He's actually under the weather today, but thank you, Robert. I appreciate you participating via the chat. Any participation is appreciated. So that was great. It was very interesting to hear sort of the different perspectives and reasons why people are interested in the program, different levels of experience, both whether it's nonprofit staff, different board affiliations, things like that. So that was great. Thank you. Okay. So the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship. Let's get the first thing out of the way. Who's Hoffman and who's Haas? The program was named after two prominent New Hampshire philanthropists, John Hoffman and Tom Haas. But the program itself is designed for primarily individuals who are new to nonprofit board service, either because they are thinking about board service for the first time and haven't joined a board before, or maybe they've been on, maybe they've been on a board or two. They don't have that much experience, and they're still feeling unsure, possibly about what their role is and sort of what best practices are. They're basically looking to step up their board service or become more impactful for their board service. What the program does is it takes people who are interested in board service and connects them with tools and individuals who can sort of that they can use in their board service, or people that they can ask questions to when they run into those situations that nobody could possibly prepare you for, that occasionally happen when you're serving on a nonprofit board. And it's a really whether it's you're participating in the fellowship as before you join your first board, or you're joining the fellowship after having been on a board for a while. It's a really impactful way to make you feel more confident and hopefully enjoy serving on a board more. So it's a really great program if you're sort of in that if you meet those sort of criteria. Why do we do it? Nonprofits, things are getting more complex as opposed to less complex. I think that's true pretty much everywhere, but it's certainly true for nonprofits. The demand for services is increasing. Not necessarily the amount of funding doesn't necessarily increase along with that, the increased demand for services. And at the same time, nonprofits are also competing for staff. Everybody's having a hard time hiring and retaining staff right now. In addition, finding volunteers has been more difficult, and donors as well. There's more organizations asking for more money because there's an increased demand, and so nonprofits are facing some complex issues, and they're looking for. They're always looking for board members, but they're looking for board members who have interesting ideas, unique perspectives, and who they're looking for new energy and new voices to help, complement the existing, skill set that they have on their board. At the same time, if you're a nonprofit, you find a new board member, you bring them on, they maybe haven't served on a board before. It can be really daunting as a new board member to join an existing board, especially if it's your first board. And new board members, people who haven't served on a board before, often report that it can take like up to a year, sometimes more, to even start to sort of feel comfortable in their role and really know like what they're doing here. A lot of people report that they sort of join a board, and then for like the first year, they kind of feel like they're just sort of watching what other people are doing, trying not to rock the boat, and just trying to figure out what exactly does it look like. What exactly does it mean to be a member of this particular board? And so part of what the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship does is, again, it allows you to sort of, almost sort of kickstarts your board service career, as it were. And it allows you to reduce, it doesn't completely eliminate, but reduce that amount of time that you're sort of figuring out what your role is, and allows you to sort of hit the ground running, start asking questions, understand what you're responsible for, what your role is, and sort of really start to make a bigger impact sooner. Which benefits both the new board member, of course, because you're feeling more fulfilled, you're enjoying your board service more, you're getting to the good stuff, as it were, and the nonprofit benefits as well, because they have a board member who's able to start making an impact sooner. And of course, as beyond that, a nonprofit that has a more effective, more energized board is able to do more things to make an impact in their community, whatever the mission that the nonprofit has. In addition, we're also looking, part of what the fellowship does is it helps experienced board members. Experienced board members have a lot of experience, but they have a lot to share, and ideally they'll share that with the other members of their board. But part of what the fellowship does is it provides an avenue for experienced board members to share beyond just their specific board. It expands their network and allows them to share what they've learned for the benefit of the entire nonprofit community, the entire sort of New Hampshire community. And it lets them, it can help them feel more confident that the next generation of nonprofit board leaders is qualified, has the skills that they need, has the tools they need, and is not going to have to sort of reinvent the wheel, and is able to build on what the previous board leaders have done. And of course, especially, once, I think we've heard it from a few folks here, once you've been on one board, you're probably going to be asked to be on a few more. Once the sort of the seal is broken on your board service, people see that and want you to serve on additional boards. And a lot of times people are, one person can have a ton of experience and they're serving on many boards. Once they sort of decide to step back from board service, it can impact a lot of different nonprofit organizations, and sort of, again, allowing those people to share what they've learned with the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship participants can be really powerful. And then lastly, people just want different ways to give back to their community, for whether it's keeping the things that are great about our community, keeping them great, or fixing some things that maybe aren't so great. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and people see that and they want to participate in it. And then also they're looking to develop new skills. Boards deal with a wide variety of issues. Nonprofits deal with a wide variety of issues. So you never know what you're going to run into necessarily, and it can be a really fun way to learn about different aspects. Maybe you've never done a strategic plan before. Maybe you've never really done any sort of fundraising before. Maybe you're not really familiar with nonprofit finances or finances in general. It can be really, budgeting is something that nonprofit boards spend in some cases quite a bit of time doing. And so again, it's a way to learn new skills and along with other folks, and it can benefit you both personally and as well as professionally. Some of the skills that you'll learn on the board or in the boardroom will benefit you at your at your place of employment or in your house, whatever you're looking to do. And speaking of employers, employers also benefit from the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship because it is a great professional development opportunity. As I mentioned, serving on a nonprofit board will expose you to work or things that you wouldn't encounter in your normal day-to-day job. And it also employers that help support their employees in finding a board and serving on a board. Those employees think better of their employer. They're also more likely to and better prepared to take on leadership positions. Every board member is a leader of a nonprofit, and so they have more experience in those leadership positions, dealing with the different things that can crop up. And it also boards are a group of people. It's not just one person that makes all the decisions, and so just inherently you become more appreciative. You become better at listening to diverse perspectives. The people you'll meet people serving on nonprofit boards that you wouldn't any other way. It's always interesting the sort of group dynamics and the groups that formed around their shared support of the particular nonprofit or their mission or their community. And so it's a really great opportunity for employers to build the skills of their employees while giving back to the community and supporting the community. And it's just sort of a win-win for everybody. So we talked a little bit about why we do it and the kinds of different people that are served by the program. Let's talk specifically about how we do that and sort of what this program specifically is. And before I dive in there, I just want to say, in case it wasn't, I didn't make it clear, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Feel free to unmute, and interrupt. We've got a pretty small group today, so we can keep things pretty informal. So again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to interrupt. So how do we do it? What exactly is the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship? The Hoffman-Hass Fellowship, one aspect of it is that it is a series of late afternoon, early evening presentations sessions. That's where participating fellows will learn about different aspects of nonprofit board governance. One of the first barriers to participating in the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship is, does the schedule work for you? We've scheduled all of the sessions are all at the same time from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Dinner is included. We think the dinners are usually pretty good. We usually get good reviews on the dinners if that's a deciding factor for you. But the sessions are designed to have as minimal an impact as possible on whether it's your day job or the other things you're responsible for during the day. We always make sure we start promptly and end promptly. You know exactly when you'll be in and out of these sessions, and it typically works for people's schedule. Those sessions, as I mentioned, sort of touch on different aspects of nonprofit board service, but there are essentially 5 core sessions for the program. The first session is sort of an introduction to some of the basics of nonprofit board service, getting to know some of the other participants. We also have a session that is on the board's role in fundraising and development more broadly, touching on sort of how nonprofits raise money in general, but also sort of the ways that the board is involved with that. I'm sure anybody who served on a board here knows that boards are sometimes asked to ask for money. That's definitely one way that boards can support fundraising for a nonprofit organization, but it's not the only way that boards can support fundraising for an organization. So if you're thinking about joining a board, but maybe the idea of just going around asking people for money makes you nervous, you don't feel comfortable with that, I'm not saying you'll never have to ask for money, but there may be other ways that you can support board fundraising. And as I said, we have sessions that touch on that. We also have sessions on the board's role in financial oversight, which again is especially for people that are coming from the for-profit sector, can be a little bit different. Nonprofits have different sort of different metrics. A nonprofit doesn't necessarily exist just to make money. They also exist to benefit the community and make an impact, but you still have to pay the bills. So how do you balance that? What is the board's role in that? Both at maybe smaller organizations where there's fewer staff, but also larger organizations. What do nonprofit finances look like? All of that kind of stuff is covered in that finance session. And then the fourth session we have is on the it's board culture, the different modes of thinking that boards engage in, and talking about how there's a difference between making sure the numbers add up on a proposed budget and trying to figure out what's the next new program we should be doing, and sort of like what it's like to have those kinds of conversations on a board, and giving people sort of an insight into the kinds of discussions and the kinds of thinking that they'll be doing if they decide to serve on a nonprofit board. The last session, we have a graduation session, but this year we're also hoping to have a panel discussion with new board leaders, people who've joined a board and experienced what it's like to and experienced and had success with joining a board, being the new person on the board, and navigating that existing culture, and in some cases, shifting it in some way or impacting it in some way, so that it's a more welcoming board, and sort of what it's like to be a new nonprofit board member, which is really helpful for folks who haven't served on a board before, but is helpful for everybody, because part of what they're going to be talking about is sort of what it's like how to successfully navigate and change an existing sort of board culture dynamic. Because at the end of the day, a board really is just a group of people trying to work together on something, which is wonderful. But there's also the sort of people dynamics and people issues that people have to navigate, and it's a skill that you'll develop as you serve on a nonprofit board. Part of how the fellowship works is that we have these sessions, we have these presentations. To supplement the presentations that you'll be hearing, we pair groups of fellows with teams of experienced nonprofit board leaders. So there's sort of two groups that are participating in the program. We have the group of fellows, the people who are participating and hoping to learn. Then we also have the group of mentors, people who are participating, hoping to share what they've learned, and in some cases often learn new things themselves. But again, we pair fellows and mentors together into groups to have the mentors sort of share real world examples that build on some of the topics that are discussed in the presentations. So if we have a discussion during one of the sessions on a budgeting process, then we have some board leaders, some board mentors in the room who can share, here's what I did at this organization. We tried this, it didn't work so well. This process worked really well, or they're able to share some of those experiences during the actual sessions. But in addition, the mentors and fellows are connecting with one another outside of the regularly scheduled sessions. To have just regular check-ins. What did you think about that last session? Do you have any questions that weren't covered? How do you feel about that? Do you saw a session on finance? Are you a numbers person? Do you feel like that's something you're nervous about? That kind of thing. And it helps to supplement the information that we're covering in the session with, again, that real world experience, the questions that couldn't possibly be covered in a 3-hour session. And it provides us a great sounding board for the fellows, so they can ask the kinds of questions that they specifically have based on their perspective, their background. And it also allows for people who are new to nonprofit board service, who maybe aren't connected to many nonprofits, they're able to sort of find out more about the different nonprofits that mentor has served on, or that team of mentors have served on, and maybe find a new nonprofit board to join, meet other board members through that sort of experienced mentors network. It's just a great way to sort if you already know nonprofits and sort of grow that understanding and meet some new folks. But if you've never interacted with a nonprofit, or you think you've never interacted with a nonprofit before, it's a great way to sort of peel back the layers there and sort of get a better understanding of what the nonprofit sector is up to. As I mentioned, all of the presentations that we have are where we have speakers coming in from across the country. We have some local speakers, we have some speakers from out of state, but there's some of the nationally recognized experts on these topics. They've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands of people. The presentations are, they're done in such a way where it allows you to process what's happening, during the presentation, and it really encourages it. They're often supplemented with materials and whether it's like worksheets or how-to guides or things like that that you'll be referencing throughout your board career, and they're really practical, really hands-on, and engaging. And again, as I mentioned, the fellows who maybe don't have a lot of board experience, they'll be learning things that, because they maybe don't have that much board experience. But even the mentors, again, we've been doing this for quite a while. The mentors that participate in this program, they always come away from the sessions having learned something too. And then one of the last sort of aspects of the program is whether it's through just sharing contact information or sharing board opportunities through either our website or emails or something like that. But we occasionally have in-person sort of networking events. Part of the program is connecting the people who graduate the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship with local nonprofits who are looking for either new committee members, maybe new board members, but making sure that they're able to take the next step if they want. So we don't specifically match people to a particular nonprofit board. We do everything we can to help the fellows find a board opportunity that's a good fit for them, whether it's a particular mission or the area that the nonprofit's operating in. Part of the reason that this program exists is to help nonprofits, find new board members and help people interested in board service find nonprofits. So that's obviously a core part of this program. So I've touched on quite a bit about quite a few different aspects of the how the fellowship works and what the program consists of. I'm sure there's probably some things that I haven't covered. I think I'll cover where you can learn more about the specific details and apply if you're interested later on in the presentation. But for now, I just want to take a quick pause, and I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint slides and just sort of check in and see, are there any specific questions? Is anything unclear? And feel free to raise your hand, unmute, type something in the chat. Sue, I see your hand is up.
So I have worked with executive directors over the years, and sometimes what I find is that the executive director is frustrated because the board, there's some sort of relationship that they have where, first of all, the board is essentially their supervisor, but they feel like the board is out of touch with what's really happening in the nonprofit, and that they're getting a lot of heat from the board to do certain things in certain ways. But the executive director is actually like in the weeds and doing things. And so there's like a lot of friction there. And so I'm wondering if we would have opportunities to talk to an executive director, maybe as like when you were mentioning experts coming in and talking, so that we could get a feel for what it's like to actually be someone who has to implement these things that the board votes on.
So that's a great point. And I got nervous there for a second when you started saying, executive directors are sometimes frustrated because we don't have time to go into all the reasons why executive directors can be frustrated. Oh. But we absolutely do touch on sort of the roles and responsibilities of the board executive director relationship, and what it means to be a board member is supervising. The executive director serves at the pleasure of the board of directors, but there's lines between who does what that shift as the organization grows. When it's an all volunteer organization, there is no executive directors. The board's doing everything. Once you hire that first staff person, a lot of things start to shift. And part of what we do in the program is talk about how that changes over time. And for people who haven't served on a board before, part of what that does is it also helps you better understand what kind of nonprofit you want to join. Some people love to get their hands dirty, and they want to be the one writing everything. They want to be the one shaking hands and asking. They want to do, they enjoy building something from scratch. An all volunteer or very small nonprofit organization might be a good fit for you. Joining the board of Concord Hospital might not be a good fit for you. You're probably not going to be, developing new, there's different kinds of work that those kinds of organizations are focused on primarily. And so that's part of what the fellowship does, is teaching people about the roles and responsibilities of the board, how that shifts, how that's different from the staff and the executive director. I don't think we don't typically have like an executive director come in and do a presentation, although I can say that one of the presenters for this year's, one of the presenters has served as an executive director. In fact, I think at least two-thirds of the session presenters have served as nonprofit executive directors, so they absolutely understand that perspective and can touch on that a bit in their presentations, and have the scars to show for it, for sure. So I think absolutely understanding that relationship and how a really well-functioning board that has a bad relationship with an executive director can still wind up being not a good functioning board, because that relationship is so key. But yeah, absolutely, that's something that's covered as part of the program. So thank you, Sue. Any other specific questions? Karen?
How big is a fellowship class, and is there any cost related to the program?
Great question. So we'll touch on some of the specifics of that after the brief stop for questions, but the typical classes will say between like 15 and 25 fellows. That's sort of the typical class size. There will be mentors in addition to that. So probably the total class size might be somewhere around 40 people total. But that's typically on the higher end, but yeah, that's the typical class size. Yes, there is a cost associated with the program. The fee is $1,000 to participate, which includes obviously all of the sessions, all of the materials. In addition to, one of the things that I'll touch on is in addition to the resources that you're provided as part of the program, fellows that complete the program are also given 1 year of membership with the center, which comes with access to additional resources, discounted rates on additional training. There's a ton of benefits of membership with the Center for Nonprofits that are designed to, again, support you as you continue your board service journey, whether that's with a board that you were already on when you started the fellowship, or a new organization you join. So that way, let's say you complete the program, you find an amazing nonprofit, you join their board, they're not a member of the center, you don't lose access to all of those resources. You'll have hard copies of all the materials in the program, you'll have digital copies of all the materials in the program, but there's also a lot of other stuff that maybe wasn't initially covered in the program that you'll be able to pull. Oh, they have this handy guide, or they have this training coming up. I can go, or I can maybe invite some other folks to go with me, that kind of thing. So
Are all the sessions live? Are you back to
yes.
live and in person?
Yep, all of the sessions are going to be in person, and I'll go over where you can find the specific schedule, because we do have the dates confirmed.
Okay.
The venue will be, it hasn't been determined yet, but they'll be in the Concord, Manchester area. The sessions, again, all run 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. So you can look at the calendar, the schedule that's available on our website, and you can see definitively if you can make all of the sessions. Now, to be clear, we're currently we're obviously accepting applications for fellows. We are also accepting applications for mentors, because I know some of you mentioned you have some board experience. If you feel like maybe you wouldn't be a great fit to serve as a fellow, but you do have some nonprofit board experience and you are interested in possibly mentoring somebody, we are accepting applications for, we're accepting applications for serving as a mentor. Fellows are expected to attend all of the sessions. If you're interested in participating as a mentor, you're not necessarily expected to attend all of the sessions. And that's, when you're looking at that schedule, if you're interested in serving as a mentor, keep that in mind. If there's 1 or 2 conflicts, it's not a deal breaker per se. So I mentioned the $1,000 fee. We do have scholarships available. It's, you know, if we, let me back up. We often have people who are sponsored by their employers in some cases to participate in the program. We've had great success with that. And actually, if it's helpful, if that's something that you think might be a path for you, we do have some great sort of, I mentioned some of the benefits to employers. We have some like stats and studies to back that up to help you make that case. So if you're thinking of going down that route, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can share some of that. Again, we do have scholarships available, and then to request a scholarship is really just sort of checking a box on the application. So it's not an onerous process per se, to indicate that that's what you're looking for. So our interest is to make this available to as many people as interested, and it's really just if there's any barrier to you participating in the fellowship, but you're interested, just let me know, and we'll see if it's something we can figure out.
I have a question.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi. So is the program mainly geared towards 501c3 organization like board service, or are there skills and knowledge that's transferable to 501c7s?
So that is a good question. I can tell you if you've been with a 501c7, because most people, when they think of, I'm on a nonprofit board and they find out the differences, it can be a little bit confusing. I think there's going to be some stuff that's specific to 501c3s. I think the vast majority is there's not. We touch on roles and responsibilities. We touch on sort of legal duties and some of the things that are specific to 501c3s. However, a lot of it is not that specific to 501c3s and can be applied to any group of people trying to deliberate and work together and come to a consensus, but is going to be applicable even if it's a 501c7 or I think like 501c15, whatever the different kinds of 501c's are. I think it'll still be relevant, but again, there may be one or two things that don't fit perfectly for sure.
Okay.
So that's a great question.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, again, I'll be sharing my contact information at the end of this, and probably have it included in our follow-up email. So if anything comes up after today's session, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I think some of what I'll be sharing next might answer. We've got a lot of the core details available again on our website and the application, which I will share right now. So I'm going to hop back to our PowerPoint. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Not yet. Yep, now we can.
How about it? Perfect. Okay. So if this program sounds interesting, if you are interested in participating as a fellow, interested in participating as a mentor, you can find everything you need on our website at nhnonprofits.org/Hoffman-Hass. There you'll be able to find a description of the program. You'll be able to find links to what we call sort of a program overview, which goes into a little bit more detail about the time expectation. How much time will you be expected to spend on this, both with the sessions and possibly some time outside of the sessions? What are the specific requirements? Again, details on how to apply, most of the core questions that people come up with. You'll find a link to the application. You'll find the full schedule. Again, as I mentioned, we've got the dates for all of the core sessions up on that website, on that program overview, so you can check if it's going to work for your calendar. And for context, our upcoming cohort, if you haven't already seen it, is going to be for spring of 2023. The first session is going to start in early March, with the final session in late May, and then technically a nonprofit sort of networking event in late June. But that's the rough schedule. You can find the exact dates on our website. The deadline to submit your application is going to be Friday, January 27th. Again, it's the application is available on the website. We don't. It's not overly long. It's pretty straightforward. You're not going to need to write, there's no essays that you're going to be required to write. It's really just asking some key questions to help us get a sense of why you're interested, what you're coming to the program with, and trying to figure out if you'd be a good fit for the program, as opposed to, do you pass or fail the quiz that we made you take. It doesn't take usually too long. And we actually, in the program overview, talk a little bit about what you can expect to find on the application, so you don't have to go in and start and stop and, I don't have that particular document ready or something like that. So it's a pretty straightforward process. As I mentioned, if you have questions about the program, if you want to just, schedule some time to chat one-on-one, if you have some unique questions, if you have any concerns, don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is on the screen now. We'll be sending a copy of the slides, and you'll find a recording. My contact information is all over the website at this point, but yeah, I'll make sure that you get that email to you. You can reach me by phone at any time at that phone number, that extension. You can leave a voicemail, email, whatever works best for you. You can schedule a Zoom. Again, if you're interested and think this might work, be a good program for you, we want to make sure that you have everything you need to make the right decision. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Again, we covered a little bit about how the program works and why we do it, how to apply. Again, I'll just take a brief pause and see if there's any additional questions that have come up, if there's any additional concerns or anything that people want to look at. Before we break, I know that people are busy, and when you can get an extra 15 minutes back in your day, most people tend to appreciate it. So I want to be respectful of that. So before we break, any last questions? And I see Robert. I see Robert already applied, so that's great. I'll double check to make sure we have your application on file and follow up with you about that. So thank you for checking about that, Robert. All right. So I don't think I see any questions. So I'm going to we will end it there. So thank you again, everybody, for joining me this morning, and your interest in the Hoffman-Hass Fellowship. Again, if you want to schedule some time to chat about it, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And with that, I will give you back 17 minutes of your day. Hopefully you find something fun that you can do with it. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Stephen.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.